buttonholes on the Pfaff Quilt Expression 720 are actually very simple. And you can use buttonholes not just on garments, but you can actually use them decoratively and weave ribbon through them like we have done on the Pfaff Stitching Cosmos quilt. This is an online course where you can find all sorts of things that you can use your machine for that are not in your manual. So definitely check out the videos that we have. One whole lesson devoted to buttonholes and sewing on buttons and even tassels. But today I want to show you how you actually create a buttonhole on this machine. So first off, you probably have a button that you need to do the length for, and you're going to reach into your accessory box, which could be in the back here, for your buttonhole foot. You do notice there is a plug-in, so I'll show you how to plug it in and how to get it set up. But you probably want to navigate to the buttonhole menu first, touch the menu, and then go to 1.3 for the buttonholes, and you're going to see quite a few of them. So if you're not sure which buttonhole to choose, touch the question mark and then touch the buttonhole. So then it will tell you what it's for or where it can be used. So you can find out what's the difference between the first buttonhole and the second buttonhole. So one has a little bit more change to the rounded part of the end and for garments. So I'm going to actually just do the first one. So, I do need to plug it in first for it to actually come up. But before I move to the needle area, take your button and measure it. See how long it actually is. So right up here on the lid of the machine, we're going to measure in millimeters. So I see that this is approximately 15 millimeters long. And knowing that length will allow us to actually tell the machine how long to make the buttonhole. Now, since this isn't plugged in yet, look what you have on the screen. You actually have 5A, the manual buttonhole foot is suggested, and there's going to be a part where you will be touching the reverse button. So to do a manual buttonhole, you have complete control of how long you want it and how long you want it. So you can make a super big buttonhole if you want. So let's just take off the foot that's on. Make sure you disengage the IDT. Don't try to leave that on while putting the buttonhole foot on. The front of the buttonhole foot is the part with the little red arrow. So look for that. That means that is the part that is to be at the front. Next, there is a place halfway between the front and the back right here that this is going to plug into. Now you might need to kind of peek underneath till you find what you are looking for when you plug it in. And it's kind of like a pair of headphones. So when you push it in, go ahead and push it all the way up. Once it clicks, the screen changes. And I know I've attached it because now right here, it allows me to put in the length of buttonhole I want to stitch. So I can go in and it said I wanted 15 millimeters. And remember, this is actual size, so you can even put your button up to that screen and see that that buttonhole has enough room above and below it for the button to get through the opening. It's usually wise to interface your fabric. I'm going to just double up my fabric today to get started and showing you. But keep in mind that when you stitch a buttonhole, notice the arrow points north. That means it's going to start at the lower part of the buttonhole and then travel away from us. So make sure you don't start your buttonhole near the edge of your fabric. First one, I always tell my students, start in the middle of your fabric for testing. Next, you're going to take and move the foot until the red arrow sits right in the notch of the foot. And when you're ready to stitch, you can step on your foot control or even push the start-stop button on the front of the machine. Now, since this thread is not underneath my foot yet, I might even take a few stitches and then stop, and I can even trim it away. Once one buttonhole is completed, you'll notice that the tails will be underneath the foot, but the first one is always usually still on top. So notice that it's just going to do a straight stitch all the way back. Now it knows when to turn around and continue back with the satin stitch. That's what it's doing now. It's stitching over that first little line, and then it's going to travel back up the right side of the buttonhole, do the tack at the top, and then travel back down. So it's going to stop for me, so I can just keep my foot on the foot control, or if I push the button, I can just hang out and watch it finish. It's going to lock it and lift the foot up. So if you want, you can touch the thread snips, have it recut the threads, and then pull it out. Ta-da! Buttonholes. Now, every single one of the buttonholes on the machine have a different look. It's a good idea to stitch them all out and see what the different looks are, and even try them at different lengths because you can have them at different sizes. So let me just show you really quick what we did when we were doing the buttonholes for the Stitching Cosmos. I created an even amount of them and then went up and down with the ribbon. Now I have to tell you a little secret here. When I went to do this ribbon that I had, I was just kind of working with what I had in my stash, and the only color I had that worked with this quilt was this narrow ribbon. It was only half the width. So what is that, like 3/8 of an inch or so? And so what I did was I actually used a decorative stitch and stitched 2 ribbons together, created a wider ribbon, and then measured. I just put my ribbon up on the front of that machine right where I measured the button earlier, and then I did the buttonholes from that measurement, and I just started here. I had my fabric in the opposite way, and then just stitched away from this every time. So I had a mark just on the fabric so I could stitch and have the perfect distance, and all I had to do is have it all start at the same place to get nice, even buttonholes all the way across. Next up, let's talk about how we sew buttons on. And yes, there are tassels under those buttonholes that we use to stitch on with the bar tacks.